All right, guys. Our next guest is coming off a successful defense of his UFC featherweight title just a couple of weeks ago, UFC 251 on Fight Island. And when he's not busy fighting the best in the world, he's cooking up some of the best sausages in Sydney, according to his Insta stories, and writing children's books. Australia's own UFC featherweight champion, Alex Volkanovski. It's been too long, man. 7 in the morning. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. 7, mate. I've been up for a couple of hours. Yeah, the girls are straight. That's what I mean. Some days I'm winning world titles. The next I'm just daddy at home. So waking up 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, my girls are early risers. So all good though. All good.
The only man that could get Submission Radio to get up this early to do an interview is Alex Volkanovski. I'm going to be honest right now, and it could be because you've shaken hands with politicians and sort of become the man around town, Alex. We saw those photos. You and the sports minister yesterday, I believe, for the state. You were hanging out with him, talking to him. I saw you were giving him a few tips on how things should be run around here. Tell us about that experience. How was that?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's just a good time to be a part of this sport as well. The sport's growing so much in Australia, and it's good. So it was an honour to be there and be congratulated by him, and have a good chat. So it's good. You know what I mean? Like this is what we want. We want everyone to know this sport and how great it is, and everyone's starting to jump on board. We always knew how big MMA was, but now it's really, really starting to spread out and be really mainstream here in Australia. So it's good.
UFC champion, obviously an incredible run as a fighter. Is Prime Minister next, mate? I know you're an author. Is Prime Minister next?
Let's do it. Yeah, maybe.
I wanted to ask you, Alex, what was it like sort of, having the fight with Max and then coming home, you can't celebrate with the family. You're stuck in isolation. You're stuck in I would say, a pretty nice looking hotel. We saw you training on the rooftop. But what was it like sort of, letting the dust settle, for 2 weeks, essentially, by yourself? And I'm curious, how many times did you rewatch the fight during those 2 weeks of isolation?
Yeah, look, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Again, it was a good spot. We're lucky enough to be able to, me and Joe, be able to room together as well. So we had that little bit of company, so we could train together and things like that. So it was it was all right. Like you said, you want to celebrate, you want to come home and celebrate with your family. But look, we knew going into this fight, this is all the protocols that will need to happen. So we're aware of it. And, I just play whatever's in front of me, you know what I mean? It's no point dwelling on it. Just get through whatever you can, whatever's in front of you. So that's just, adapt to whatever's in front of you, as I always say. So that's exactly what I did. But yeah, man, just plenty of Netflix and, on the phone and, watched the fight a couple of times too. So just, doing whatever I could to kill some time.
How do you feel about the fight now that we're sort of 2 weeks removed from it? Do you have any new thoughts on it, or is it all pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. It was a close fight. You know what I mean? It was something that we knew even as we were fighting. We knew, like, all right, even as I've been saying, that third round, we're like, we need this round. We knew we obviously had the first two, so it was like, man. So the whole way through that fight, we knew it was close. But we thought we did enough, and so did the judges. It was a close fight, so I'll give credit to Max. But we're confident of that. And then me watching back the tape, it's exactly what I saw as well. So again, it was a good tough fight. Max definitely changed his game, and I had to make adjustments after that second round, which I did. So yeah, again, it was my views on it hasn't changed too much. Just it's just a close fight, and it is what it is.
Well said.
Stealing Max's lines, love it.
The Fight Island experience, now that it's been a little bit of time as well, sum that up for us, because it looks like you might have to sort of do this for a while, maybe go back over there for your next fight as well if things continue the way they are. Some fighters saying it's difficult keeping awake and staying on the right time schedule and being able to perform out there sort of in the middle of the night. What was your takeaway from it? Do you feel like it affected your performance at all?
Mate, it was definitely different. It was different. So with me, as I'm sure we've talked about, how's it feel going into world titles, and even like with the crowd. And I always say how composed I am, and I keep my focus on keeping myself composed and clear-headed, and level. I want to be level going into that fight so I can, work a game plan and, and do what needs to be done. But this time it was like I was that level and that clear headed that it was like I wasn't even fighting. It was like I was literally right now having a chat to you guys while I was in there. So it was definitely different. Like no crowd. Maybe I need that crowd to keep a good balance for me. So again, I always say I believe I got one up on my opponents because I reckon the crowds and the atmosphere will sometimes get to them a little bit. Where me, I can keep myself real level. Where in this case, it was like a negative effect. So it was like I was that chill that I was just like, so chill in there. Like, it was weird. So I had to get punched in the face a couple of times to start waking up. You know what I mean? It was crazy. It was definitely different. But I mean, at least I experienced that now and I'm aware of that. So if I have to do it again, maybe I'll let the emotions go a little bit. Maybe I'll try not to control the nerves, try and have that little bit of adrenaline going just so I can, keep on my toes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. You've been spoiled by too many lovely Australian crowds, Alex, your whole career. And now you got the mini crowd in the background with the kids, so it's all right. A little bit of taste of that. But here's the thing. The big thing now is that Dana White spoke to a good friend, Brett Okamoto, and he said that it's hard not to revisit the Max Holloway fight for a third time for you next. How do you feel about that? The idea of possibly doing this fight again for a third time?
Yeah, look, it's just, it's pretty clear that like you win back to back 2 wins in a row to make a third one it doesn't really make sense, especially right now. Again, we know that last fight was close, but the judges gave me the decision, and that's that. And in the first fight, even though it was competitive, I pretty clearly won that fight. So to just give him another rematch straight away, and put the division on hold, it just doesn't really make sense. And even I end up listening to what he was saying, and look, he was throwing it out there, but at the same time saying exactly what I'm saying. I mean, look at the division. We've got all these guys about to fight, and by the end of the year, we're going to have a clear number one, and you're just going to keep giving Max rematches. Again, it was a close fight, and people really, and I understand why people, they want to see the fight again, but at the same time, I won twice back to back, you know what I mean? So it just doesn't really make sense right now. But again, it's something that it can definitely be a big fight in the future as well. But for right now, I've got a division that I want to hold, and I don't want to keep on hold, you know what I mean? So I want number one contenders. I want some fresh blood in there. So we'll see who that is.
It's funny because you're right. Dana White did kind of sympathize with you a lot in the interview, which normally he doesn't do. Normally he's just like, this is the sales pitch and that's that. But he was kind of like, I could see it from Volkanovski's perspective. But just from your perspective, are you kind of sick of fighting Max at this point? Like Robert Whittaker was kind of saying that when people were saying Romero again, he was kind of like, man, I just did 10 rounds with him. Are you sick of, like, I imagine as a fighter, you get excited for training for new guys. Are you kind of sick of fighting Max? And do you think it'd even be fair? I guess from your perspective, why even do a third fight?
Yeah, man. Fair. You want to talk about fair? It wouldn't. It's not really. You know what I mean? But again, it was a close fight. And there's a lot of people that they're gonna say they're gonna have their opinions, and I understand that. That's a part of the game. It happens all the time. But at the same time, as Dana said himself, there's judges that's their job. And they went in there, and I truly do believe that they made the right decision, especially watching back to tape. As I said to you guys, I watched back to tape a couple of times, and you look at the official stats, and it shows that the guys done a good job. It was such a close fight, so you just can't hate on them. I sort of feel sorry for them as well. They're getting bashed by everyone when I believe they made the right decision. So it's just I feel for them. But I mean, at the same time, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm ready to move on right now. Again, I want number one contenders, as I've been saying. It doesn't mean that Max will never get a shot again. He can go fight a few times and come back around. And if there's no one else, hey, I need that number one contender. I need that guy next in line. But right now, I don't believe he's next in line, especially back-to-back losses. Again, I've got a lot of respect for Max. Great fighter. We knew this is going into that second fight. We knew this is the toughest matchup in our division. And I still took that rematch when a lot of people thought, why would you even need to do a rematch after that first fight? But again, there was no one else. And, we did say that, Max deserves a rematch because he was a great champion. But, we had another close fight. And put it this way, that was his chance. That was the day. If he was ever going to beat me, I believe that was the day to do it. And, again, he come close. He done well. But, I just pulled away with the win and dug deep and showed what champions are made of. So, again, credit to Max, but I'm ready to move on. And let's see what happens. So again, let the division play out a little bit, and I'm sure he'll be back. Like I said, I do believe he's a outside me. I believe he's the next best fighter, in our division. So I believe he won't really have big dramas with opponents. So he'll probably be back there again. And like I said, hey, I'm an easy champ to understand. If you're there and there's no one else, let's do it.
The big thing online when everybody kind of saw the headline come out about Dana suggesting potentially there could be a trilogy was people saying how the situation's a little bit unfair in the sense that, if you had lost the fight, people believe, the UFC wouldn't be rushing to try and do a rematch straight away. But because it's Max Holloway, a guy that's been in the company for such a long time and a guy that the UFC holds at such a high regard, it's like they keep trying to put him up against you. And possibly in some hopes that he wins, and possibly because he has such a big following. I mean, now that you've beat him twice, do you have the power to sort of go to the UFC if they approach you and say, hey, this is the fight, to say, look, I want to fight somebody else? Or do you kind of still, because you're still just still relatively new to the company, even though you're the champ now and you've had such a great run, are you still in a position where you sort of have to kind of take the fights the UFC give you right now?
Look, man, I gave Max the rematch for them. The UFC didn't give me anything else but the rematch. My team weren't too happy about that. But, again, I end up saying, you know what, there's no one else. I still think this is the biggest fight for me on that card as well, because there's no clear number one. So I believe that was the biggest fight. And that's why I wanted to do it. So we end up, making it worth it on a big card like it was. And we made that happen. And right now you can already see that Dana totally understands why the third match probably isn't going to happen. You can already hear him talking about, it's probably, he's saying that he wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, he's saying that I highly doubt that's going to happen, because it's just, again, even if you look, I've been told, I haven't actually got to see what people are saying, because, I'm not going to go through the comments too much, but I've talked to a few people, and, in the comments in all these, where these headlines are like, Dana wants the trilogy and whatnot. Supposedly everyone's in there going, no, we don't want a third fight. Like, supposedly everyone's like, come on, let's move on and let him run it back another time. So again, that just shows you, there's a lot of people that obviously are going to have diehard Max fans that are going to want to keep pushing it and totally understand. But I mean, there's guys that go, look, it was a close fight, could have gone either way, but man, that's just silly having a third fight. So, this is what I'm being told everyone is saying. So is it the fight that people want? I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, I probably would maybe consider if there was no other fight and this was the fight that everyone wanted. But it seems that everyone wants us to move on anyway. The division needs to play out. And, we've got a whole division. There's so many of us. You've got 15 people that are ranked for a reason. And what, we're just going to keep fighting until Max wins? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. So I guess that's, everyone understands that, and that's why everyone's being vocal about it. But, again, I feel for Max as well. It was a close fight. He almost did it, but just wasn't enough. So unfortunate for him. He can just, fight some guys and then show that he's the number one guy again, and then we'll take it on.
What would you like, Alex? Who would you rather, and who's sort of on the short list of guys that get you excited for your next fight?
Well, Zombie keeps running his mouth, even though someone for him. But, I mean, still, that's always intriguing. It's a fun fight. He's just going to look for the finish, which, again, if someone's going to just be aggressive like that, that's good for me. You know what I mean? That's a fun fight. And same with even Zabit as well. So Zabit's another, I think they're the two front runners, Zabit and Zombie. But again, they just need a fight. Someone just needs a fight and get an impressive win. And I guarantee you, everyone's going to be screaming their name. I guarantee you, if Zombie knocks out Ortega or Zabit knocks out or does a crazy submission to Rodriguez, I guarantee you guys are going to be, that's a fight I want. You guys will be. Everyone's going to be. You know what I mean? So that's the fight I want. I want an exciting fight. And I want a person that everyone goes, this has to be the guy. He's going to do it. I hope I'm the underdog. You know what I mean? I love it. I want people sitting there saying, this is the guy that's going to take him out. And I'll go out there and I'll prove him wrong again.
Just out of curiosity, how do you see Zombie versus Ortega playing out if it comes together? We know there's obviously some travel issues for Zombie. Not that Brian Ortega believes that, but if it happens, how do you see it playing out? And would a part of you be kind of rooting for Zombie to win because, him obviously saying that it's shameful that you're a UFC champion? Are you kind of, I remember at the start of your career, you were saying to us, you want to fight the bullies of the sport. Yeah. It's almost a throwback to that. Do you hope that you get Zombie because of that?
Yeah, well, like I said, I want them bullies, but at the same time, it seems like the bullies are his manager or something, which already got a good slapping from Ortega, so they shut up for a while. But, I mean, look, again, Zombie's a pretty cool dude, but if he's going to let his team run their mouth, he deserves a beating for it as well. So, but, I mean, yeah, definitely. That's a good fight. But, I mean, with what Ortega's saying, he doesn't believe Zombie, you can't really blame Ortega for saying that because supposedly Zombie can fight me, but can't fight Ortega. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't really make sense. So he's calling me out saying he wants to fight me and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time telling Ortega that he's got these restrictions and he can't fight. So you can see where Ortega's going with that.
We know you're always keen to get back in that octagon and fight. What kind of timeline are you looking at in terms of getting back in the octagon? If there was sort of an ideal time for you to be back in there fighting again, what would you say it was?
End of the year, you know what I mean? End of the year. I think that's a pretty realistic. Yeah, again, we're still in these challenging times. So to go through, for me to just be like, let's do one right away and go through all the protocols. And, it wasn't easy. This camp was different, very different. You know what I mean? There was a lot of hurdles you had to jump the whole way through. And to just do that right away would be quite annoying. But, I mean, let's see at the end of the year, if things quiet down and things ease up a little bit, maybe the process will be easier. But if not, if the protocols are the same, at least I'll be eager to fight and I'm going to be, who cares? Let's just get this out of the way. I want to fight. So, but right now it's like stuff doing all that again. Let's just let the division play out. I'm the champ and I'm having more fights than these contenders that I'm trying to tell them, guys, you're one fight away from a title shot. Again, this is an easy division to understand. You get that number one spot, you get a title shot. No bullshit, no bullshitting about it. Plain and simple. And you're one fight away from that. Make it happen. Go out there, take someone out. Boom. You can get a title shot before the year's out. I ain't going to promise you're going to win that title shot, though. So, you can get there, get that title shot. I know that's what you want, but I'm going to pull away the win anyway. And that's it. I'm going to stay with this belt for a long time.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's much better than other divisions where people aren't looking for a title shot in 500 years. So at least you're helping people along to get to that title shot. I love seeing you on social media when guys like Calvin Kattar's fighting and you're saying great performance and you're sort of being really positive and pushing those guys along. So it's great to see that. Quickly, before we jump to the kids' book and wrap up, I have to mention Henry Cejudo. Are you at a point now with Cejudo? I mean, the guy's retired. Are you at a point now when you check your social media notifications and see something from him that you're just sick of hearing from him and seeing these tweets that he keeps putting up about potentially fighting you?
Well, mate, like he just, he definitely lives up to his name when it's a cringe. But I always thought the cringe was just things he said. But now it's getting cringy how much he's begging for a title fight. It just doesn't stop. Cringing how you retire and then you call everyone out, stirring shit everywhere. It just seems like, he's even stirring the pot in the divisions that he retired in. So he's still still getting lippy to some of the guys back down there. But obviously he's calling me out. And again, if it was going to happen, it was earlier in the year. But again, I've got a division to hold, and I've got my eye on the division. I want these number one contenders. And if for some reason the UFC pushed that on me, like I've said, I need to get paid for it because it's just a waste of time for me. I believe waste of time for the division. And just again, he doesn't deserve
would be a waste of time.
Fight on a Hey,
fighting Cejudo would be a waste of time.
I believe so. for my legacy, for my for the GOAT status that I'm saying that I'm chasing now. You know what I mean? And it just and the divisions, wasting the division time. Again, he's done great things in flyweight and bantamweight. But I mean, you know, featherweight's a whole different beast. You know, there's a reason why it hasn't been done. I get why he wants to chase it. It makes sense. Again, it's a win-win for him. A win-win for him. I go out there and mop the floor with him. Yeah, he's a lot bigger, blah, blah, blah. That's why it just doesn't make sense for me, because everyone's going to sort of expect me to just go out there and mop the floor. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. No disrespect to Henry Cejudo, but it's a whole different breed in this division. So, you know what I mean? It'll just be a waste of time. I'll go out there and then everyone will be like going, oh, yeah, you're fighting smaller guys, blah, blah, blah. You wait till you fight your guys in your division, blah, 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 whatever. So it's just, for me, it's just a waste of time. Again, he's done great things, and I can see why he's chasing that third belt, but it ain't going to happen. Even if he gets a chance, he ain't taking that belt from me. I can guarantee you that.
Well, in the meantime, Alex, obviously you've got your children's book coming out, and this is a fun sort of story here. It's an inspirational book for kids. You're showing some good values from martial arts, like, you know, respect and discipline. I'm curious, because we've had a look at it. We've had a look at some of the sort of previews and what it's about and stuff. How would you say this chapter of your career, I guess this current saga with Max Holloway, sort of ties into your book and your journey as a martial artist? I imagine there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, well, look, it's the thing is with this children's book, it's more of a book that, you know, the age of, like, you know, my daughter's age. It's a book that I'd read to my 2-year-old and 4-year-old daughters. So it's more of just, you know, it's a picture book, but at the same time, you know, teaching you values and, you know, morals and, you know, what this sport's all about. Again, a lot of people miss that. You know, a lot of people, you know, they look at fighters and UFC athletes as thugs, as angry, disrespectful thugs. Like, let's be real, there's a lot of people that think that, but you've met a lot of fighters yourself. Not many are even like that. Most of them, majority of them, 90% of them are some of the most respectful people you ever meet. And people miss that, you know what I mean? And if any of you are in the gyms and do martial arts yourselves, you guys would know that it's all about respect. It's all about working hard, discipline. You know, you need to have good morals. If you're going out being a thug on your street, your coach ain't going to have it. You know, that's not what we're all about. You know what I mean? So, but again, a lot of people miss that. And, you know, this is something that I want people to realize, that we aren't all thugs. You know, a lot of us are good people, and I want to push that on the younger generation. And again, like I know my gym and most gyms around the world are all about that. And, you know, this is something I want to push for. It's exciting for me. And, you know, it's something I'm very proud of, because, again, there's no one really doing it. And that's why I'm like, well, instead of us pushing this whole blueprint of thugness and disrespectful and talking rubbish about opponents and whatever it is, and look, I get it, but that's not me. And that's not a lot of these fighters. And that's why I want to show a different side to these UFC athletes that people don't really get to see. But again, it's all about hard work. Good morals and values that I would teach my daughters, that this book can teach kids around the world.
Well, the book looks great, and you guys can check out alexanderthegreatbook.com.au. It's $20. You can pre-order it now, and deliveries are due in August. I don't have kids myself, Alex, but I might buy a copy. Maybe read it to my dog, Winston. He's kind of like the only son I've never had. Also, his website, Alexander the Great. It's been tough and nice. So alexanderthegreat@volkanovski.com. And, of course, follow Alex at Alex Volkanovski on social media. He is the champion in the division. We can't wait to see what happens next for you, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us so early in the morning onto Submission Radio. It's a real honor and pleasure, man.
No worries. Thank you. Sorry for waking you guys up to do this, mate.
Absolute pleasure, Alex.